Crises in Japanese politics often begin quietly. Everything seems calm in the streets and daily life, but beneath the surface there are strong currents. In the summer of 2025, however, these quiet waters suddenly turned into giant waves. Shigeru Ishiba, leader of the Liberal Democratic Party, LDP, announced that he would resign from both the prime ministership and party leadership after the upper house elections held in July, and the cabinet officially stepped down. On the surface, it was just an electoral defeat, but there were far more complex reasons behind the resignation. So, what happened to force the longtime leader of Japan's most dominant political party into such a critical decision? And how would this development impact the country's political balance, economy, and public expectations? The House of Councillors elections held on July 20th were essentially a test for the government. The results fell short of expectations. The LDP and its coalition partners failed to maintain their majority in the chamber. This was not just a numerical loss, but a situation that seriously limited the government's legislative capacity. When the election results were announced, all eyes naturally turned to Ishiba. Was this the first crisis Ishiba had faced in his political career? In fact, he had previously gone through controversial periods, struggling with various challenges in the shadow of intra-party rivalry. But this time, the situation was different. A loss of public trust and inter-party unrest combined to make his resignation almost inevitable. Losing the majority in the chamber also limited the feasibility of economic and social policies, sending a strong message about the future of the government. Why didn't the public sufficiently support the Ishiba administration? The answer was multifaceted. Economic problems were at the forefront. During the post-pandemic recovery, the slowdown, rising energy costs, and inflationary pressures were directly affecting daily life. The government's solutions failed to meet public expectations. Inadequate reforms in social welfare, shortcomings in the education system, and rigidity in security policies increased public discontent. Intra-party opposition claimed that Ishiba was insensitive to the needs of the people and that his vision was insufficient. The election defeat made all these problems visible, and a leader who had lost public trust came under heavy pressure both within the party and among the public. Ishiba openly stated that his resignation was shaped by these multi-layered reasons. Public and market reactions to the resignation were varied. Some saw Ishiba's decision to take responsibility and resign as positive. In Japan, political resignation culture is strong, and an unsuccessful leader stepping down is seen as a sign of honesty and accountability. On the other hand, there was also concern about political instability in society. Opinion polls showed that public priorities focused on the economy. People demanded wage increases, inflation control, and a stronger social safety net. Foreign policy and security were secondary concerns. The markets experienced short-term fluctuations, the yen lost value, and stock investors acted cautiously. International investors assessed that political instability in Japan could trigger chain reactions in Asian markets. Questions about the future also arose. Who would replace Ishiba? While young and reformist figures came to the fore within the party, senior politicians were also mobilizing behind the scenes. This leadership race was seen as not just a party matter, but the beginning of an era that would determine Japan's future. The new cabinet was not expected to make radical changes in foreign policy, but differences in tone might emerge. Priorities were likely to include addressing China's rise, maintaining the alliance with the US, and potentially easing relations with South Korea. The public expected policies focused on economic growth, energy security, and social justice. These demands would become the strongest indicators shaping the new prime minister and cabinet's roadmap. In Japan, a prime minister's resignation is not considered surprising. Throughout history, electoral defeats and public pressure have unseated leaders. Resignation is not seen as weakness, but rather as a sign of responsibility and accountability. Ishiba's decision was seen as a natural continuation of this culture. However, the gap he left was not merely a political reckoning, but also a source of uncertainty for the future. Frequent leadership changes can undermine public trust and weaken Japan's image internationally. Yet every crisis also brings an opportunity for renewal. Shigeru Ishiba's resignation is not only an end, but also signals a new beginning. The gap between public expectations and political reality must be remeasured. Economic problems, shortcomings in social welfare, and international pressures present a difficult path for the new leader. But in Japanese political culture, every resignation is not collapse, but an opportunity for rebirth. This time, hope is high. Change born out of crisis and renewal emerging from instability heralds a stronger future for Japan, and it can be summarized at this very moment. Japan is shaken by resignations, but each tremor builds a stronger future. If you want more content like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave your thoughts in the comments below. How do you think this political change in Japan will affect the country's future? We're curious to hear your ideas.